The muted glow of the nightlight cast a gentle aura across the nursery, illuminating the peaceful slumber of my newborn son. I lay there, listening to the rhythmic sounds of his breathing, feeling the warmth of his small body beside me. But something felt off. I carefully extricated myself from the bed, the creaking floorboards beneath my weight seeming to echo the uncertainty that had settled in our home. Tiptoeing through the hallway, I made my way to the room that had become Alex's sanctuary since our son's arrival. The door was slightly ajar, shadows playing on the walls like silent witnesses to the secrets held within. As I entered, I found him there, sitting on the edge of the bed, his gaze fixed on some distant point in the ceiling. The dim light revealed the weariness etched into his features. "Alex," I whispered, the uncertainty in my voice mirroring the turmoil in my heart. He turned to look at me, the attempt at a smile faltering as our eyes met. "Hey, Rose," he said, his voice carrying a weight I couldn't quite place. I crossed the room and sat beside him, the silence between us growing thicker with each passing moment. "Is everything okay?" I finally ventured, my concern breaking the silence. Alex sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Yeah, it's just work stress and the bills piling up. You know how it is." "But we're in this together, Alex," I replied, my voice filled with a plea for him to open up. He nodded, his eyes avoiding mine. "I know, Rose. I just need some space to figure things out. It's not about us, it's about me." The words hung in the air, a heavy fog of uncertainty settling over us. I wanted to believe him, to trust that this was just a rough patch, but the distance between us felt like an insurmountable chasm. As I left the room, the door creaked closed behind me, sealing the night in an embrace of uncertainty. I returned to the nursery, where the soft sounds of my son's breathing seemed to echo the questions that lingered in the stillness of that fateful night. The room, once an intimate space where shared dreams and whispered promises resided, now held an air of desolation. I pushed the door open, the hinges brumming in protest, and found Alex sitting on the edge of the bed, bathed in the glow of a solitary lamp. Shadows played on his face, accentuating the weariness etched into his features. "Alex," I said, my voice a cautious melody in the quiet room. He looked up, his eyes carrying a burden that words struggled to convey. "Rose," he acknowledged, a fleeting attempt at a smile. The room, adorned with memories we had created together, felt like a battleground where our unspoken struggles clashed. I took a seat beside him, the mattress sinking under the weight of uncertainty. "What's going on, Alex?" I asked, my eyes searching his for an explanation. He sighed, his gaze fixated on a point in the distance. "It's just everything. The bills, the work pressure, the expectations. I need space to sort through it all." "But we're a team, Alex. We face these challenges together," I pleaded, my hand reaching out for his. He pulled away gently, his expression a mixture of guilt and frustration. "I know, Rose. It's not about you or the baby. It's about me, and I need to figure things out on my own." The admission hung in the air, a heavy silence settling between us. The room, once filled with the warmth of shared dreams, now felt colder than ever. I fought back tears, trying to understand the distance that had grown between us. "Alex, we can work through this together," I insisted, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. He met my gaze, his eyes clouded with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. "I just need time, Rose. It doesn't mean I don't love you." As he spoke those words, the room became a witness to the unraveling of the intimacy we had once shared. The flickering lamp cast long shadows on the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that had crept into our marriage. The door closed softly behind me as I left the room, leaving Alex alone in his self-imposed exile. In the darkness, the weight of our unspoken struggles lingered, and the separation in that room marked the beginning of a journey into the unknown for both of us. The walls of our apartment seemed to close in on us as the weight of bills and financial strain pressed down. Sleepless nights and hushed conversations filled the air, each day blending into the next with the struggle to make ends meet. It was in the midst of this turmoil that my mother, Mrs. Black, offered a glimmer of hope. I found myself at her doorstep, my desperation mirrored in the lines etched on my face. The familiar aroma of her home embraced me as I stepped inside, seeking solace in the haven of my childhood. She greeted me with a warm smile, her eyes filled with concern. "Rose, my dear, you look exhausted. What's happening?" she inquired, guiding me to the living room. I hesitated, the weight of our financial troubles heavy on my shoulders. "Mom, Alex and I are struggling. Bills are piling up, and it's hard to make ends meet with just his income. Mrs. Black's brow furrowed with worry as she listened. "Oh, sweetheart, I hate to see you going through this. Is there anything I can do to help?" It was then that she made an offer that would change the course of our lives. "I've been thinking, Rose. I could sell the house. It would bring in some funds, and maybe you could use it to pay off debts or find a more affordable place." The suggestion hung in the air, a lifeline dangled before me. However, the thought of parting with the family home, the place that held the echoes of my childhood, gave me pause. "But Mom, that's your home." "I can't ask you to sell it," I protested, torn between gratitude and the desire for my son to experience the warmth of familial history. Mrs. Black took my hands in hers, her eyes filled with maternal determination. "Rose, my love, family is more important than a house. I want to see you and the baby thrive. If selling the house helps, then it's a small sacrifice I'm willing to make." Tears welled in my eyes, moved by her selflessness. "Mom, I appreciate it more than you know, but I want our son to have the same connection to the family property that I had. I'll find another way." She sighed, a mixture of concern and understanding in her gaze. "All right, my dear, but promise me you'll consider it if things get even more difficult. I hate to see you struggling." As I left her house that day, the weight on my shoulders hadn't lifted, but the love and sacrifice in my mother's offer lingered. The choice ahead was daunting, and the path to financial stability seemed elusive, but the warmth of familial love provided a flicker of light in the darkness of uncertainty. The atmosphere in our once vibrant home had grown heavy with the weight of financial strain, and it seemed to seep into the very fabric of our relationship. As the bills mounted, so did the tension, and with it came a change in Alex. His demeanor shifted, his once affectionate words turning into barbed remarks. One evening, as we navigated the narrow corridor of our apartment, the impact of his words struck like a sudden storm. The harshness of his tone cut through the air, leaving me defenseless against the verbal assault. "Rose," he sneered, his eyes scanning my pregnant form, "you're getting as fat as a barrel. Can't you see that? It's like you've let yourself go completely." The words hung in the air, a cruel echo that reverberated through the confined space. I felt a lump forming in my throat, a mixture of shock and hurt making it difficult to respond. "Alex, how can you say that?" I finally managed, my voice quivering with a vulnerability I hadn't known before. He shrugged, dismissing my distress. "I'm just stating the truth. Maybe if you took better care of yourself, we wouldn't be drowning in this mess." The words stung, each syllable etching a wound that went beyond the surface. I retreated into a silence, unable to articulate the pain that had settled in the pit of my stomach. The sanctuary of our home had become a battleground, and my once loving partner had become a stranger wielding words as weapons. Days turned into nights, and the verbal assaults continued. Every attempt to communicate was met with dismissive remarks, and the warmth we had once shared turned to icy resentment. In the stillness of one particularly tense night, I couldn't bear the weight any longer. "Alex, why are you doing this? We're supposed to be a team," I pleaded, my eyes desperately searching for a trace of the man I had married. He scoffed, his gaze cold and distant. "Team? Rose, we were never a team. You just dragged me into your mess." The realization hit me like a tidal wave, and I retreated into a cocoon of self-preservation. The wounds from his words ran deep, and the sanctuary of our home had become a place of torment. The journey ahead seemed daunting, but I couldn't let the echoes of his cruelty define my worth. It was time to find strength in the midst of the storm and weather the trials that lay ahead. The air was thick with tension as the clock's hands inched towards midnight. Sleep remained elusive, my mind tortured by the echoes of hurtful words and the palpable distance that had grown between us. On that fateful night, I found myself standing by the window, gazing into the darkness, searching for answers to the questions that haunted my thoughts. The distant sound of a car pulling into the driveway drew my attention. My heartbeat quickened as I watched Alex step out, accompanied by a young woman whose laughter cut through the silence of the night. The scene unfolded like a surreal nightmare, and a knot tightened in the pit of my stomach. My instincts propelled me forward, down the staircase, and out into the cool night. There, beneath the dim glow of the street lamp, I confronted the harsh reality of betrayal. "Alex, who is she?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. He stumbled over his words, guilt written across his face. "Rose, this is Maria. We've been spending time together." The admission hit me like a physical blow, and for a moment, I stood there, paralyzed by the revelation, Maria, a stranger, had become a part of the secret world that Alex had created. The air crackled with tension as I sought an explanation that would make sense of the chaos unraveling before me. "Why, Alex? Why would you do this?" I implored, my eyes locking onto his, desperately searching for a glimmer of remorse. He sighed, a mixture of guilt and regret in his gaze. "I don't know, Rose. Things changed and I made a mistake." The gravity of his words hung between us, the night bearing witness to the unraveling of the vows we had once exchanged. As Maria stood there, a silent accomplice in this clandestine affair, I felt the foundation of our marriage crumble beneath the weight of betrayal. "I can't do this anymore, Alex. I won't let you destroy us," I declared, my voice trembling but resolute. He nodded, a shadow of sadness in his eyes. "Maybe it's for the best. I'm sorry, Rose." The apology rang hollow in the night air, and as he walked away, I stood alone, grappling with the wreckage of a life that had suddenly become unrecognizable. The late-night revelation marked the beginning of a painful journey through the wreckage of a broken marriage, forcing me to confront the harsh reality that the person I had trusted the most had become a stranger in the darkness. The days that followed the late-night revelation were a blur of emotional turmoil and legal proceedings. The unraveling of our marriage gathered momentum, fueled by the betrayal that had pierced the very core of our vows. In the midst of the chaos, Alex dropped another bombshell, one that would shatter the fragments of our life together. One evening, as we sat across from each other in the cold sterility of a lawyer's office, he delivered the news with an air of detachment that sent a chill down my spine. "Rose, I've decided to file for divorce," he announced, his eyes avoiding mine. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt the weight of the impending separation press down on me, the reality of a life unraveled becoming too tangible to bear. "Why, Alex? Can't we try to work through this?" I pleaded, my voice laced with desperation. He shook his head, a semblance of remorse flickering in his eyes. "It's too late, Rose. I've made my decision. I want to be with Maria, and I need a clean break." The lawyer interjected, explaining the terms of the divorce as if we were negotiating a business deal rather than dismantling the life we had built together. The words irreconcilable differences and division of assets became a bitter reminder of the love that had soured and the dreams that lay shattered. Days turned into weeks as the legal process unfolded, each document signed and notarized marking the death knell of our marriage. The reality of a life without Alex loomed, and the emptiness left in his wake became a silent testament to the love that had slipped through our fingers. One afternoon, a notice arrived, formalizing the divorce without the need for Alexa's presence. The ink on the paper seemed to etch a finality into my soul, a decree proclaiming the end of a chapter I had never anticipated closing. The magnitude of his absence sank in, leaving me to navigate the remnants of our shared life alone. As I faced the reality of an unwanted divorce, the road ahead seemed daunting, paved with the debris of broken promises and the echoes of a love that had crumbled into dust. In the aftermath of the unwanted divorce, the once familiar walls of our apartment echoed with the silence of solitude. The void left by Alex's absence was palpable, a constant reminder of the love that had been lost. As I navigated the challenges of single parenthood, a chance encounter brought a flicker of hope into the shadows of my world. One day, while attending a support group for single parents, I met Brandon, a man whose eyes mirrored the pain of his own journey. Our shared experiences created an unspoken bond, and as we opened up about the hardships we faced, a connection began to blossom. "Rose, it's tough, isn't it? The loneliness and the weight of responsibility," Brandon confessed, his eyes filled with understanding. I nodded, grateful for the empathetic presence beside me. It feels like the world has turned upside down. But we have to keep going, for our children and for ourselves. As days turned into weeks, Brandon became a pillar of support, offering a listening ear and a shared understanding of the challenges that came with rebuilding shattered lives. Together, we found strength in solitude, navigating the complexities of single parenthood with resilience. One evening, as we sat in a quiet cafe, the warmth of shared laughter and camaraderie began to dissolve the shadows that lingered in my heart. "Rose, you're an amazing woman. I've been through similar struggles, and meeting you has been a silver lining in the storm," Brandon said, his eyes reflecting a genuine appreciation. The acknowledgement brought a smile to my face, a small yet significant step toward healing. "Thank you, Brandon. We've both been through a lot, but maybe we can find happiness again." As our friendship deepened, so did the realization that life could take unexpected turns, leading to new beginnings. Brandon's unwavering support and shared optimism sparked a renewed sense of hope within me. One day, amidst the challenges and triumphs of single parenthood, Brandon looked into my eyes, his gaze filled with sincerity. "Rose, would you consider starting a new chapter with me? A chapter where we can build something beautiful together?" The question hung in the air, and as I pondered the possibility of a second chance at love, the weight of the past began to lift. The journey ahead was uncertain, but with Brandon by my side, I embraced the prospect of a future filled with newfound happiness and the promise of a love that had weathered the storms of solitude. The days turned into months, and with Brandon by my side, the wounds of the past began to heal. The once chilly apartment transformed into a haven of warmth and laughter, the echoes of our shared experiences casting away the shadows that had haunted its walls. As the calendar pages turned, so did the chapters of my life, leading me towards closure and new beginnings. One afternoon, the doorbell chimed, and I found myself face to face with a presence from the past, a presence I had fought to leave behind. Alex stood there, a shadow of the man I had once known, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and realization. "Rose, I know I messed up. I was lost, and I made terrible choices. Can we talk?" he implored, his words carrying the weight of an apology long overdue. I looked at him, the scars of his betrayal still etched in my memory. "Alex, there's nothing left to say. The time for talk has passed." He nodded, acknowledging the finality of the situation. "I just wanted you to know that I understand the pain I caused. I hope you find happiness." As he walked away, I closed the door on that chapter of my life, feeling a sense of empowerment that came with the acceptance of closure. The journey to healing was arduous, but the scars were now a testament to the strength I had found within myself. In the warmth of a sunlit afternoon, Brandon and I stood together, watching our children play in the shared joy of newfound companionship. His presence had become a constant source of strength and love, a balm to the wounds of the past. "Rose, we've come a long way, haven't we?" Brandon remarked, his eyes filled with gratitude. I smiled, the weight of the past no longer burdening my heart. "Yes, Brandon, life has a way of surprising us. I never expected to find happiness again, but here we are." As the years unfolded, Brandon and I built a life filled with love, understanding, and shared dreams. Our journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, proving that even after the darkest nights, the dawn of new beginnings awaited. One evening, as we sat on the balcony, a soft breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers, Brandon took my hand and looked into my eyes. "Rose, I'm grateful for every moment we've shared. You've brought light into my life, and I love you." The words hung in the air, a promise of enduring love and a reminder that closure had paved the way for the beauty of new beginnings. As we embraced the warmth of each other's presence, I reflected on the transformative journey, from the depths of heartbreak to the heights of a love that had blossomed in the aftermath. The past was a distant memory, and the future unfolded before us, a canvas ready to be painted with the vibrant hues of a second chance at happiness.